Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Astrological Intentions. I am your host, Alex Reevy, along with the Easter egg hunter herself, Sandy Reevy.
I'll tell you about the new ways to color an egg.
It is episode 352, the week of April 21st. Let's get right into it. In the transits, we start off with April 23rd, Wednesday, Sun square Pluto.
Stand down.
And Sandy's Astro-Interesting Day, April 24th, Thursday, Venus conjunct Saturn.
Does she help?
April 26th, Saturday, Mars opposing Pluto.
Hope it's not as charged as the first and second times.
April 27th, Sunday, new moon at 7 degrees of Taurus.
Has major suggestions?
Then on the horizon, don't forget about our Patreon community. Our Neptune and Aries CWS webinar is on there as well. And our very exciting upcoming Talisman trunk show May 7th. And, of course, the absolutely amazing Tuscany, Italy retreat coming up in October 2025. Then in our house, we have a very special guest in Susan Goodell, financial astrologer, fellow Chatting with the Stars astrologer with Sandy, is here to talk about the financial market outlook and also a little bit about what was discussed at the Neptune and Aries webinar. So stay tuned for this episode of Astrological Intentions.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you.
Easter egg.
You are the one you will answer
Color.
when this life is done. Don't waste a minute. Jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver.
Hello, Easter egg hunter.
Today on NPR, please save NPR. It's my only news outlet other than the Skimmed that I read.
The Easter egg.
Today on NPR, they were saying, with Easter coming, anybody that is dyeing eggs is wealthy. they're saying, hey, if you're dyeing eggs, you have it, you've got money. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, not unless somebody has been blowing eggs over the last months, preparing anytime they need an egg to blow an egg. My dad taught me that.
I can see that.
But they said there's new ways to celebrate Easter without using eggs. And some of these chefs, well, the one that didn't sound too wonderful are small little golden potatoes. They said you could dip them just as you would an egg, and the skin would adhere to the dye. So, and then you could peel them later and still use them, right? And that was one. But my favorite, which I was going to do for you, but I'm going to tell you here, I guess just don't tell Rocco, is those big marshmallows.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So that you can paint or dye them or use food coloring to do marshmallows,
Oh, fun. Oh, that's cute.
So that you can paint or dye them or use food coloring to do marshmallows.
Or what about even if you were to crack the eggs, you can always put those two pieces, well, usually, depending on how you crack your eggs, but you usually can pretty much piece them together.
All right.
What if you rinsed them out, then applied some puffy paint or something, some sort of glue, stuck them back in, and then dyed that.
All right. Did
or
you just
a
make
hot
that up,
glue
right?
gun. Just get it back on together.
And
then you could even put little
coloring
treats
years
or
I've been
candies
around.
on the inside. I actually like my idea the best.
Anybody I've ever seen
I
that
did. Off
you've
the
seen
cuff.
the plastic eggs
Totally.
that you can separate and put your little nuggets in. But I also saw something that I wanted to do also, which was on.
And no one's ever
it's not
thought
TikTok,
about
'cause I don't get that, but maybe it was on Instagram.
Right, sure.
That you take only silk ties, men's ties, women's ties, whoever's ties, they, them, she, it, her ties. That so you could go to a Goodwill store or something, find silk. Cut the bottom of, like the bigger, fatter part of a tie and take the back of it around so it it's touching the whole egg. And then you take another piece of fabric and tie it so that the fabric of the tie is up against the egg and secured, right, by another piece of fabric, right? So,
okay.
And then you put it in your dyes, right, through and it's boiling water with some vinegar, and it will take the pattern off and put it onto the egg. And they're looking so cool. No, they're really looking so cool. So maybe I pop over to our local and pick up some silk ties. They're looking so cool. Does it?
Okay.
No, they're really looking so cool. So maybe I pop over to our local and pick up some. Because you have to spend money to get the ties and cut them up.
A lot. Yeah. It sounds like a lot. It sounds way too much, actually. Okay. I don't know if I've really ever like appreciated an Easter egg like that much, right?
Okay.
Except for like if there was something inside, or if it was leading me to an Easter basket, right? So maybe save your time on that one. Just having you reconsider. All right.
Yeah,
so let's
this
jump
is,
into
all the
transits
planets are meeting up with,
four
Pluto
transits,
in
the
this,
first starts off at the
Aquarius
middle of the week, April 23rd, Wednesday.
Right, so this is a stand down. It's a square. The sun, the identity, is in conflict with power, right? So it's kind of like, don't try, simply give it up. Don't try. Let it go. It's hump day. Just take your time getting over the little obstacle and get to the other side. Don't try and rush through anything that you're going to be the power force against the incredible power force of Pluto. You're not going to win. So just stand down. The power force against the
all right, so next we have your Astro-Interesting. Okay, stand down. And that is right. Don't go up against Goliath this day.
Yeah, this is at 27 degrees of Pisces.
Next we have your Astro-Interesting day, and that is
Venus is
Thursday, April 24th.
Venus is exalted when she goes into the sign of Pisces. But when she's at 27 Pisces, this is her exaltation degree, my friend. And who's there to welcome her to the pedestal of her exaltation degree? Saturn. So this is the third and final pass, but this one is at the 27 mark. The other ones were not. So here she is helping. Saturn can certainly put the wet blanket or the black cloak over anything it's touching, right? Because Saturn is the maudlin, Saturn is the melancholy, Saturn is the you're doing the right job at the right time at the right place. Are you do it again, right? And Venus comes by and meets up and says, Hey, Saturn, I'm helping you out. You don't get to be so dark and muddling and harvesty, and hey, have a little bit of faith, right? So I really believe that this is a time where she helps out, and the term, keep the faith, baby, right? This is a beautiful time that actually that'll probably be a very big, prominent word for you guys next week while you're with, family, because that was your other grandfather who used that, keep the faith, baby. Right? And you're going to be with word for you guys next week while you're with, family. So she can soothe and calm the negativity down.
You're going to be with family for a funeral, unfortunately. Yep.
This is also third pass, but Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. How do we want to introduce this?
Okay, and so let's move on to
all
Saturday,
I said was,
April 26th,
I hope it's not
Mars
as charged
opposing
as
Pluto.
the first and second pass. Hopefully this is a release of pressure. Notice I'm saying hope here a lot. The word hope. Mars and Saturn are at opposing positions. So just hearing that, these are the two bad boys of the sky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mars, the soldier, the fighter, the promoter,
Mm-hmm.
the push in your face, the cut, the sword, all these things, the bullet, right? And Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth. But you heard death first, right? So there's this complete action that started back in November.
Mm-hmm.
It also right around the election period. That was the first opposition. So yeah, there was a standoff of power. Then we got to the second, Mars was retrograde, and this was a few days before the inauguration when they seated the Congress. So there was could have been another standoff of power. And now here's our third and final one. So, hopefully that oftentimes the third pass of something is about a release. That hopefully that is a release of pressure versus kind of a big bad boom bomb bombastic, loud noise, right? Like the sonic boom that we all heard. Did you hear that when the blue origin went up and came back down within 10 minutes? Oh my gosh, I was watching that live.
Mm-hmm.
Six women going up into space and coming back down 10 minutes. They were only gone 10 minutes, but they went a world away. But I just say the sonic boom because the announcers were making a countdown of, all right, we should be hearing in 3, 2, 1 a sonic boom, and you would hear it. Did I just say the sonic boom? And so that's kind of what this I'm saying is a sonic boom, something loud that is occurring in this is United States. I mean, it is the world, but we see two things already that had passed for the first two passes that have to do with our government. So what is this about? Can we release something? Because we've been in a tight, we've been gripping, our TV remote or our, radio volume or all of our newspapers that we're getting. We're holding everything so tight because it's like, what now? Right? So Mars, the cutting, severing, the firing, right? This is firing. Because it's like, what now? Comes to a resolution, a release. Very big day. All the astrologers have their eyes on around this period.
So we'll keep a lookout for around April 26th, Saturday. All right, so let's move on to Sunday, April 27th. All right.
All the astrologers have their eyes
7 degrees of Taurus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we'll
we
keep
have
a
to
lookout
think that
for around April 26th, Saturday. All right, so let's move on to Sunday, April 27th.
This new moon
at
let's
7 degrees of Taurus.
Picture this. A new moon, sun and moon are together in the sky, right? We're not. There's no moon because the moon is with the sun, and because we can't see past the sun, can't even look at it very well and shouldn't.
Right. So there's no moon in the sky.
However, it's at 7 degrees of a fixed sign. Taurus is fixed. This Mars opposition Pluto is at 3 fixed. Leo opposing Aquarius. So this becomes a T-square with this new moon. So the sun and the moon are squaring both Mars opposition Pluto. So wow. Now, because it's Taurus, it's Venus ruled. And Venus is, by this point, Venus is no longer retrograde. She's moving into Aries and wants to get something done. She wants to start moving forward. She's not in the of it. So this Venus is also moving away from Saturn. So I really think there's going to be some major suggestions here. I believe she will be bringing up some points or some ideas to possibly change some orders. So some things that are written in stone, anything that is done in a Taurian, Earth, fixed Earth, it's going to be this way. Kind of might get a bit of action. Might get a bit of
manner.
And so let's hope that whatever this pressure that we're feeling on Saturday comes to a agreement point, an agreeing choice point, where someone has to back down, someone has to give up. Yeah, so it's a tight, hard new moon, but it might have good results over the next 2 weeks. And at the same time, that same day, Venus, the ruler of this new moon, is the brightest in the morning sky she will ever be in this period, in this particular cycle. She won't be this bright until November of 2026, when she goes through her cycle again, right? And becomes an evening star, and being very bright as an evening star. So she becomes this greatest brilliance always a month before her cazimi with the sun and a month after her cazimi with the sun. So she's already done 1 month before the cazimi, because that was in early March, and then this period is now a month after we all had the our Venus star point talisman making. So she becomes it's because her disk size and her phase that she's in. So we can talk about this later, and maybe I'll talk about this at the next one, but when she goes into a full phase, the disk becomes small, and when she goes into a increasing phase, as she's going from small to big, her disk size decreases. So, this was the period of her inferior conjunction. So the disk size is decreasing while her phase is increasing. And that becomes the two areas of her when she's the brightest in the sky. So you'd have to get up, and I didn't do the exact timing, but you could find out when is a great time to see her in the morning sky. So, maybe I can look that up while you talk about the next thing.
The next thing is see her in the morning sky. Mm-hmm. So, I'll have you look.
My glasses, I just got a text. My glasses are ready for pickup.
You talk about the next thing.
So,
well,
the next
thing is going to be on the horizon. So
what time you can watch
give
Venus
it a quick pause.
come up over
I'll have you look it up.
Horizon on her brightest in the sky moment during her cycle, and I just see that my glasses are ready for pickup.
Oh, and that was a hysterical story, because you're like, oh man, I don't really want to do this. This is Mercury retrograde, and so
yeah.
I'm just kind of rolling my eyes, like, do you think that the
and
that was a hysterical story, because you're like, oh,
because I was making
I don't
the
really
announcement.
Want to do this is Mercury retrograde, and I'm just kind of like rolling my eyes, being like, do you think that the employees at Four Eyes really care about this? And you were, and then you were like, well, you just want to make sure that you're double checking things and you're getting things right.
Meanwhile,
and
somebody
guess what
had
happened?
actually
You went to go pick them up a week ago.
I want to
and
see your
they were
new
all
glasses.
wrong,
And I go, well, how do you know about my new glasses?
They put the wrong lenses
because of your
in.
podcast. I'm like,
oh my
well,
gosh.
thank you for listening to the podcast. But she goes, I was wanting to see your glasses. I'm like, the lenses were wrong. I did it during Mercury retrograde because there was a big sale going on, and I'm like, yeah, you guys running a big sale during Mercury retrograde. What kind of problems are you going to be fixing? In fact, I had to say it to the worker there because that's so important for her to know. And so, sure enough, but I did get that.
Right, probably
I did get my discount, right, because I got it then. But problem.
Right.
So now they're fixed.
Good. Yay, that's exciting.
Oh, I got to go today because my eyes are. Anyway, so Venus. Getting back to Venus. Venus, you can watch. She comes up over the horizon at 4:13 a.m.
That's exciting.
And the sun does not come up until 5:53 a.m. So,
Yes.
Of course, I'm looking for her on Sunday the 27th, which is her brightest in the sky. And I really would want you to go out and honor her some way because she is she's responsible for this new moon on this day. And so go look for her anywhere between that 4:15, although she might need some time to get up over the horizon if you have, mountains or trees or something. So really anywhere from say 4:15 till about 5:15, 5:30, where she will be very easily seen. The darker it is, the easier it is to see her. But then once the sun starts to dawn, as soon as dawn opens the doors for her for the sun to come through the gates, she'll have to disappear. So, and you'll start seeing dawn about maybe 5:30 a.m. So, I'm going to set my alarm right now.
Exciting to see Venus in all of her glory.
And actually, I'm going to be visiting my mama.
All right,
Okay.
so let's move on.
All right.
to-
All right. So
right now.
exciting to see Venus in all of her glory.
And actually, I'm going to be visiting my
Fun
mama.
things to discuss.
Yeah,
So don't
perfect.
forget we did
All right.
have
So
our
let's
CWS
move
webinar all
on
about
to
Neptune and Aries.
On the
Sandy
Horizon,
and
where we
Susan
have some upcoming
together and gave us
fun
this
things to discuss. So don't forget, we did have our CWS webinar all about Neptune and Aries. Sandy and Susan, our Chatting with the Stars
It was
ladies,
Neptune.
came together and gave us this really wonderful historical look on what has happened in the last centuries when Venus was changing signs. Did I say Venus? I got Venus on the mind. Yes, when Neptune, because Neptune takes a lot longer to transit the zodiac. So anytime that Neptune was transiting into a new sign, you and Susan were discussing that, because when we can learn from this historical outlook, right? What has happened in the past? What are these patterns and these cycles? And what can we kind of forecast from there on? So interesting, and lucky enough we have Susan here on the podcast to tell us a little bit more and give us some highlights from that webinar. So don't forget, sign up on Patreon for Big Dipper and above, and you're going to be getting all of these webinars that Sandy and Susan are going to be having throughout the year. And if you do sign up for an entire year, you get great savings. So we would love to have you on this Patreon community. You can ask Sandy and Susan questions. Your name will be in the list for a volunteer chart. So whenever there is a webinar, if there's something special about your chart, Sandy and Susan will bring that up, cover
we
off
all know
all
that
your details,
we are
and
looking
use
for something
this,
higher, bigger,
say Neptune and Aries information to take a look
to
and what does that mean in
understand
your specific chart.
what is literally going on in our real world, right? And this is just a perfect opportunity to understand as above, so below, but then as below is seen from above, right? So when we can see what's going on in the sky on a mundane level for the world, something is happening down here on the earth, in the reality. And we are all involved in this reality that we live in, called the reality check. And that's what we're doing. We're doing some reality checks of why is this happening? Because we're all wanting to know, how do we stay calm in this, right? And we can. We absolutely can.
All right, so also don't forget we finished up our Venus cazimi Sun. This is a Talisman workshop, so this is a physical
Mm-hmm.
talisman.
Right.
We can. We absolutely can.
Right. All right. So also don't forget we finished up our Venus cazimi Sun. This is a talisman workshop. So this is a
Venus star
physical
point, yeah.
talisman that you walk away with, plus all the information and reports, personal reports, all about your Venus sign,
and courage,
your Venus star
and it's
point,
the Aries,
all of these
energy,
really
and,
critical.
Venus is coming back into
parts
Aries this
of
next
what
week.
Your
Because she went retrograde back,
beauty
she
and
went
value
to Aries, crossed the
and
sun,
those types
and
of
that's why she's
needs.
coming up before the sun. She's a Promethean forward marcher. So it's only been a month. You have plenty of time for the next, 8.5 months of the gestation period. It's kind of like, do you find out you're pregnant right away at the exact moment it happens? No. So it's kind of like, let's identify about a month later, okay, you're getting some signs that something has been planted, right? And now you need to take care and nurture
Right.
to give that seed, if we will, a wonderful environment for you to birth something when we get to January of next year, where we'll go into the Gemini, into another sign. So, what kind of courage and bravery are you putting into that seed?
It was very cool.
So you're not late at all.
Highly recommend
Right.
streaming
So,
that webinar.
what kind of courage and bravery are you putting into that?
Yeah,
and you get your talisman because
It
I've
was-
already
it was
made
a very cool
more
event.
than
I
more than
highly
that was,
highly
live
recommend
on
streaming that
moment.
webinar, and just it was powerful. So
Also,
And you get your talisman because I've already
Yep.
made more than that was
we would love for you to join. It is
Right.
a free event.
Right. Then we have coming up May 7th
by registering,
is
right?
a Talisman trunk show and raffle. So we would love for you to join. It is a free event. If you get your first free raffle ticket by registering. And if you want a chance to win some amazing Talisman products, then buy some more raffle tickets. Let's see. We would love for you to register,
Can't they
and
go
also
into
it
the show
is a
notes?
free event,
Not yet?
so
okay.
I will be sharing out all of those links in our email list. So make sure you're on our email list. And yep, they can go to the show notes. Yep, and you can register there, and we will see you there on May 7th.
I know.
Also, don't forget that coming up 2025 in October is our Tuscany, Italy retreat. So that is going to be a very special
we're going to identify
event where you're going to be diving in deep into
our
each
guardian
person's
angel
personal
that
chart, and
has a
the
name and a
scenery
purpose
is going to
and a
be
soul's mission that is
unforgettable.
helping us along the way, and just waiting for us to ask our guardian angels. So it's nice to know their name. It's nice to know what their qualities are that that is holding our soul. And if you look behind you, you're going to see something I purchased for the retreat. The retreat that about the guardian angels. Oh, you said it out loud. Yeah. Isn't that gorgeous? That's going to be our for our altar.
It's beautiful. Is that a candle?
Anyway, so guardian angel of this
sorry.
current life, our soul's missions, current life, and our guardian angel of our past life, what our soul mission was then, and how to blend these two soul missions and blend these two angels together and have them walk with us throughout the rest of our lives. And how to blend these two soul missions and blend these two angels together and have them walk with us throughout the rest of our lives.
If you do still have questions after you
Very cool. So, of course, in the show notes, you're going to see the sign-up links, and you'll get so many more details there. If you do still have questions after you check out the itinerary, you check out the pictures, you figure out the pricing or the different
apartments. You get these incredible, all the little apartments that are sectioned out in this castle are so very different. So you kind of get to pick where you want to stay. And and if you do have questions after that, don't forget you can get a
logistics.
free 15-minute
I just talked to somebody about where do we fly into,
about what's going on with you astrologically during that
how
time,
are we going to get from there to there.
If
questions like that.
If there's any questions that you have about the retreat.
And also what you just said is about the apartments. These are not replicated hotel rooms. Where this one looks like that one, looks like that one, looks like that one. It is nothing like the case. These are apartments. Some are just one bedroom apartments with their own living room, dining room, kitchen, and bathroom. Some there's 4 bedrooms within a whole apartment that, some have their own bathroom, some have shared bathrooms, some have outdoor spaces to sit, some don't, and they're all priced accordingly. Some have stairs to climb, and trust me, these are stone stairs. These are not like wood steps. This was built back in the excuse me. Did I say that wrong? The 1930s? No, it was built in the 1300s.
I mean. We would love for you to check out the pictures.
Oh, it's frescoes. The original frescoes. Built in the 1300s.
Yes, very different. Very, very different.
And on the ceiling.
So yes, we would love for you to check out the pictures. It's going to be a magical place. And if you don't know what that is, it's
like
basically
done
like a mural
during the
on
time
the wall,
of the,
and on the ceiling.
The Sistine Chapel,
but they're absolutely
things, right?
gorgeous.
When they did frescoes,
and just the way that
they would bring
preserved
in
this
the stories
castle
that were being
so
told.
Impressive.
In fact, there's a story in the chapel, and I don't know if we're going to be allowed to go in there.
Right.
She did let us in, but she kind of looked around and went, "Let's hurry and go in." And she opened the door with these big keys,
so gorgeous.
right? These big long latch keys, and we walked in, and there were skeletons, Yep. In glass cases. They were like the priests and the cardinals of the castle. You see them up there on the altar. You see just skulls. Yeah. And above on the fresco on the ceiling and the wall is the Annunciation. Right? When Mary was told she is with child.
It's like a catacomb.
And Jesus, God, the God. So these are all stories that I want to learn. In fact, I bought the book and I'm reading it in Italian because they didn't have it in English because it's in Italy. So they did it in Italian.
How are you doing that? Out of curiosity.
Using my phone.
Yeah, Google Translate.
Yeah, but Google Translate has a thing where you could use your camera.
So how are you doing that? Out of curiosity, because I'm.
So I take a picture of the whole page
Google Translate,
and then read it from my phone. Turn the page, take another picture, read it from my phone.
Brilliant.
Use your camera. I know. So it's doable. So I take a picture of the whole page and then read it from my phone. Arrivederci. Yeah.
Brilliant. Super cool.
I know. So. Well, actually, can I add
you're
one
kind
more
of
thing?
bilingual.
Since I'm catching up like behind the scenes of White Lotus, right? So I just finished that whole second season.
Well, yes, we would love for you to join. Don't forget to click that link. In
the whole time in
notes.
Italy, right? So
Sure.
it's all these words, and just their demeanor and how beautiful everything is, and that castle that they went to in whatever town that was. It's kind of looks like that. Okay. And you're sleeping there, right? To sleep in that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to our house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. And I'm sure a lot of people have been watching. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Super cool. So let's move on to our house, where we have a very special guest that we would love to reintroduce you to, because we've had her here on the podcast before. Susan Goodell is a financial astrologer and is here to talk about financial
Yeah,
market
so hi,
outlook,
Susan.
and especially
we've had you on
focused
the
on Neptune and
podcast
Aries and what
years
that
ago,
means.
and I
So
know we
let's take
always
a
get
listen
together for our Chatting with
into
the
Sandy's
Stars,
interview with Susan.
for our webinars and for our monthly forecast and our cheat sheet. But we wanted to welcome you back here because as a financial astrologer, Susan Goodell, and that's how people can reach you, right?
Yeah, SusanGoodell.com.
And you're quite busy these days with what you do, and you kind of predicted, you watch all the markets, and I know we're going to get into a little bit about some of the bigger planets moving into new signs, which sets a whole new trajectory for all of us to see new natures about these planets. But yeah, what are you talking to people about these days?
Well, the same thing I've been talking about for the last couple of years, which is finally here.
I know we laugh, but should we be?
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it works. But one of the bigger things I watch is the 45-year Saturn-Uranus cycle. And the market tends to make highs at the hard aspects of that cycle. And that has proven to be the case this time around. The current one that started in 1988 ends in 2032. So we're nearing the end of it, which is always, and the last quarter is always the most difficult. It's always the most dicey. You really don't know exactly what's going to happen. And we
don't.
Yeah, and we're in that phase right now.
Yeah.
But what I've been talking about for the last couple of years is that Saturn sextiles Uranus. Their last sextile, 60 degrees apart, starts in April of 2025 and goes through the third pass is January of 2026. And actually Saturn sextile Uranus can be quite bullish, meaning the market goes up. But to be bullish, you have to find that has to come from a low. And so that's why I've been saying that I've been expecting the market to make a low into this period, April of 25 through January of 26. And based on the two previous cycles, that could be a drop of 29%, like in the previous cycle, or worse, 89%, like it was from the high in 1929 to the low in 2032 or 1932, the Great Depression. And last week we hit about 20%. So I think there's still more to go, but the timeline, really the next 9 months is important to see how far the market corrects.
Because I'm noting that on April 4th, which we already have passed that period, again, we're recording this on the 17th of April of 2025. And that very first one, that Saturn sextile Uranus that you were saying, happened April 4.
Yeah.
But does not complete, like you said, until January, I think.
January 20th, I think, of 26.
Of 2026.
But right as the sun moves into Aquarius.
And gets ready to hit Pluto.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and but it could make a bottom anytime, I think, between now and then. The question is how much and when. See.
And does it matter where your money is stored right now or where you have your money invested? Are there certain markets that are more vulnerable?
No, I mean, actually a client just asked me that earlier this week, what to do, where to go. And well, like their stocks, bonds, gold, silver, cash.
All same. All same, right? They're all kind of linked into the stock market.
Yeah. Although gold's been on a tear. Gold has been making record highs for the last, since the beginning of the year, really.
Like you were telling me off the side one afternoon that it's what is it at right now?
It's close to 3,300, I think, today.
For an
Hang on a
ounce.
minute.
Yeah.
I can check
Yeah.
real quick on my phone.
Now, is this is the most it's ever been in the
Yeah.
history of gold? Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is it true silver's coming up? I heard that from someone that silver is.
A little bit, but not as much as you would expect in relationship to gold. It's kind of a weird thing, and I don't know why. I haven't looked at it. But gold today is at about 3,300 an ounce.
So if you had gold coins or gold, or would you say to sell? I know what you did.
I sold one of my gold coins.
Okay. Because this could be the highest it goes. I mean, we don't know, right?
We don't know. It could be. Could go higher. I mean, but that's the thing. You never know about markets. They always go higher. They go lower.
Right. So, you wrote your first book, or not your first, but your first astrology book, let's say, on the markets, the financial astrology, to put in as one of your tools in your toolkit.
Yeah.
Right. And so you've watched what markets are your favorite to watch?
Gold. The S&P 500, which is the benchmark for everybody's 401k. It's the major index in the United States. So I watch gold, the S&P, the 10-year T-note, the euro currency, crude oil, soybeans, Bitcoin, and I'm missing one. The NASDAQ 100, the technology index.
Well, I remember at the time you said too, when we were moving into that Aquarius period, and we moved into that Saturn Jupiter new 200-year cycle of air. You were telling your clients and people that were on our Patreon group, to buy air type of stocks, right? To invest in the air economy.
I'm still with that.
Yeah.
That was so important. I thought that Jupiter Saturn conjunction was at 0 Aquarius, which is where the NASDAQ 100's Mercury is, at 0 Aquarius. And Mercury rules trading and stock indexes. And so that to me was like Jupiter and Saturn anointing the NASDAQ 100 and saying, okay, you are going to be the index of the future. And I still think that will be the case. I don't know that I'll live long enough to see it, but I think, because we're only 2 years into the air economy, or 3.
Yeah.
Out of 200, we got a long ways to go.
Right. So really, it's the babies that are being born now. In fact, that might be for grandmas, right, or grandpas that are having grandchildren right now, is to buy some of this air economy stock.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Wow. When they get to be ready to buy an engagement ring or a home or whatever, that money could really come in handy. So that would be where you would suggest.
Yeah. And, and really technology, then you have to decide which technology stock you might be interested in. And it could be AI. It could be something online education oriented. It could be something about the brain, air itself, clean energy, any of those kinds of things. But I always find it interesting too that one of the biggest, most popular stocks in the 1920s was RCA.
The television?
Yeah.
Broadcasting?
Radio was the new technology in 100 years ago. And so RCA was like the up and coming stock. And it had a tremendous bull market in the 1920s because it was the new kid on the block kind of stock. And same thing, there's probably lots of stocks coming up now that will be that kind of structure. Remember when, what we're looking for now are the things that are going to be the Microsoft, Facebook, Google of the future.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those stocks came on board in our little air economy preview period from 1980 to 2000, because that's when Jupiter and Saturn were conjunct in Libra in 1980. And so it gives us a little preview of what the next thing is going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Microsoft and all those, Magnificent Seven stocks, when those companies were founded, was during that period. So now we're in the real one. And so now you're starting to look for the companies that will take technology into the 22nd century.
So do you think space travel also?
Yeah, that certainly qualifies.
Because you might have gotten that text the other day that said, oh, NASA and astronomers are seeing that life is possible on a undefined, it's a numbered planet. It doesn't have a name. It's like 30C 65N, that they're seeing. So there's this expansive look beyond, right?
Mm-hmm.
This air getting out into the cosmos. So really interesting. I know that you and I have been chatting with the stars, which we actually love working together and have been doing this. We think 10 years.
10 years?
Something
like that.
And it has morphed throughout the years, where we used to meet in person and put a little sandwich board out front my studio and have readings, and at certain times of the day kind of like come in, and we did not sit there with our turbans and brooches on, but I was tempted.
My husband always thought we should.
Good old Jerry. And so, how that's morphed into us now is through our cheat sheet, our Zoom recordings that go on to our Patreon account. And so Alex helped us put a tier group together. And, we want to say anybody interested in getting all this information every month, you can become a Patreon member. We have 4 levels. But if you're interested in these webinars that we're doing, which really we spend some quality time and quantity of time to do the research, to put the slides together, and to present really decent historical information with some predictive work. Mm-hmm. And we always use a Patreon's natal chart. We hide the name, but we always find a participant, a Patreon member, to highlight to you and I to review, right? Mm-hmm. And how this particular energy is affecting this particular person. And everybody knows their own chart if they're with us, right? Mm-hmm. And so we're going to hit some other really important topics that are coming, like you said, Saturn's moving into Aries soon, like next month.
Yeah.
Right. Then we're going to see, Uranus move into that next sign of Gemini. So there's a lot of new things arriving in 2025 that are giving us like you said, like a pulse point to get an idea of what this is, because they're only there for a short period, come back into their former signs to then permanently for a period of time.
So, 2025 is still a waffling kind of period with the planets. They're still going in, they're going out. So we're also with them, going in, going out. Not really sure which way we're going to end up. We won't know until next year.
Yeah. So isn't it, we always say, as above, whatever the stars and planets and actions that are happening up there are reflective as so below.
Yeah.
That is not, we did not make that statement up. And what is going on the ground in reverse to that, we can identify it up in the sky. It's happening there. So because we chose to come here at this time, and we're in this period of really interesting corporate government structure is, what we've been saying for 5 years.
Yeah.
Governmental structures, banking structures, which is where we hold our money, are, I don't know if I should quote, John Cougar, Mellencamp is, the walls are crumbling down.
Well, we talked about, just like everybody did, but Pluto, the United States Pluto return.
Yeah.
And, we look at it from a Placidus point of view, the tropical horoscope point of view, which means that it's tied to the seasons. But there's another, and so the Pluto return for the United States, which is about transformation of the country, ended actually the 2-degree range I remember was like the complete term of 2020 to 2024. But the sidereal people,
right,
we're still in it.
Yeah, we can tell.
Sidereal zodiacal perspective.
Yeah, you're not telling me anything, right? I think when you say that to anybody, they go, "Yeah, you're right. We're not out of it." Right?
We're not out.
And yet other countries have had multiples of these Pluto returns.
Yeah.
But we're the new kid on the block. Right?
The UK's had 3.
Yeah. So, and there's major transitions.
Major shifts.
In fact, if you join our Patreon as a Big Dipper, and actually you can save. We had some people just recently buy the whole year because you get a discount. You get a discount by buying the whole year in one plow. That you can get all of the library. So you could go back and look at that when we talked about that Pluto in Aquarius.
And we did 2 or 3, didn't we?
Yeah, because we were first in.
Yeah.
And then last time in, which was over a period of, that 2-3 year period. So, and we have a whole list of things that were occurring on certain poignant, important dates. So really, let's not turn our heads away from astrology, because it'll find us. It knows where we are, even if we close our eyes to it. It will follow. It will occur. So just kind of open up your hearts. And I think one big way, and I've been talking to my clients too, because we have combined clients. Let's identify that right now. We both have our own companies.
Yeah.
You do your financial, book writing and research on people's charts, on their financial highs and lows and interests, and you spend hours.
I do.
Hours. I'll spend an hour on a 1-hour call. But because you're looking at from many different areas, right? You look at the second house. Do you look at the 8th house?
For wealth, 2, 5, 8, 11.
Okay. What about for debt or loss? I mean, you would still look at those?
Yeah. And then transits to them by progression or a regular transit, and the rulerships of those houses and the planets are in those houses, all of them.
I know, which sounds like a lot, and it is, but it's easily understood once somebody can put that into an outline or a pattern, and we deliver it that way. You do the financial. I'm not a financial astrologer.
But you do relationships way better than me.
We do what we do, right? Because we are who we are.
And if you haven't heard us say this before, I'm sure you have if you've ever listened to us. Venus to Sandy is love, and Venus to me is money.
Right. So if you're somewhere in between, it could be both.
Could be both.
Yeah, and I look at Jupiter as the wealth planet, right?
Yeah.
And because that expands anything, but it can also be the non-wealth planet, right? Of it if it's in a difficult position or, making squares and hard aspects and stuff. So anyway, but I really wanted to just kind of, pick your brain on what you're talking to people about now, because, for people that normally aren't concerned about their finances, or Social Security, or their Medicare, or, I mean, we're in that age. And so, yeah, we care. We have a voice. And how can we use it? How can we, we got Venus coming up before the sun these days. So there is this forward march of thinking ahead, getting ahead of what is, instead of just waiting around. Of course, you would say also that, my mom believes in the long game. Yeah. I think all investment practitioners say, don't do anything, ride it out.
Well, if you have the time to do that.
Oh, there we go. We're already on a clock.
Can you, when the market crashed in 2000, the dot-com crash in 2000, it was when Jupiter and Saturn conjoined in Taurus. It was in 2000. It took, 10 years for the market to get back where it was. The Great Depression, the high in 1929, wasn't surpassed until 1954. So, do you have 25 years to wait?
Me? No.
I don't.
No.
Do I have even 10 years to wait for the market to come back to where it was today? No, not necessarily. You'd rather not.
Right. We are at that age of looking really close at 70, seeing how we spell the word 70. Because it was always funny I was never going to be 69. I never wanted to say those numbers, right? It was like in high school, don't ever say those numbers. So it's like, I'm almost 70. Let's just put it that way.
So anyway, yeah, the long game is great, and certainly, and I'm more a believer now than I used to be. I had a boss who was always bullish, and this is at the brokerage firm, so he knew a lot about the market and watched it regularly. And he says, "Oh, Susan, it'll come back. You can't." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but don't you want to? No, it'll be fine. It'll come back." And he's right. And then I started looking at the Saturn-Uranus cycle too. Fascinating. At the conjunction, every 45 years, at least the last 2 times, like I said, 3 times. It's the low for the next 45 years. So, like I said, we're in this year is dicey because lots of things are up in the air financially and with the planets, the financial oriented planets. But then it kind of clears up a little bit into what I think is going to be a huge high in 2030 when Jupiter opposes both Saturn and Uranus. And then we head lower into a huge, huge, huge low in 2032 when Saturn and Uranus make their next conjunction. And if it holds for the last 3 cycles, that low in 2032 should be the low for 45 years. So
yeah, and we're edging closer. We're edging closer and closer. And so you do have to look at at least your next 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Plan. Me, Pisces. I don't have one. You Capricorn. You got a plan. But there is an end to the game, right? There is a in that whenever that date is, But anyway, thanks for being here. We could probably talk. I said we were going to talk for 10 minutes. Okay, sure. I'm sure that's over. But I wanted to let everybody know that, how much you do know, and that you've been in. This is not just a new folk astrology wise. It's a new folk for you, but you've been in the markets and in that field for your career.
Yeah. Going on 50 years.
So the subject matter is not new for you. You just got a new lens.
Yeah.
Right. A new microscope, macroscope, telescope. So you can see what's going on in your paperwork and in the banks and on the thing, and then what's going on in the sky, and you're relating them. And it's so true. But thanks for doing that, because I have no interest, or I don't have the background for it. So I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, Susan. And, we do readings that are two astrologers. Susan and I are looking at your chart, and, no other astrologers that group together at the same time in the same call that have their information.
Yeah. And we see different things. We're just different people. We just see different stuff in the chart.
So it's kind of like 2 for 1 in those time sessions, and those are available for some of those upper levels. So take a look at that in the Patreon, which then includes all of the webinars. So anyway, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.
Always nice chatting with you.
Yeah, it always is. And it's gives me a feeling. I don't know I can't describe the feeling, right? Because we can't describe really what's going on now. It's because we're going through a volatile, what do we say? Volatile, vulnerable, I don't know, vicious. Where's another V?
Certainly volatile.
Let's be victorious in this by having our knowledge based around what possibly could occur, right? These are all predictions. We will see how they play out, but know about what's occurring when things are occurring.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here, and I'll see you later.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening in. Don't forget, you can sign up and join on Patreon, the Chatting with the Stars community that we are building. The link is in the show notes. And yes, so appreciative that Susan could come in and give us some of her wonderful financial astrology knowledge. And don't forget, upcoming this year is going to be many webinars Sandy and Susan will be giving you, as well as the monthly video and PDF of all of the dates that you should be aware of. So thanks again, everybody, and we will see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one, you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver you. The story of you, the story.